Hi, John.
Hi, Paul. How are
How's
you?
it going?
I'm
I'm
doing
good.
well.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 360 Actor Business Overview, part of John Rosenfeld Studios Actor Summit.
I am very excited about this.
I am too. We
Uh,
have a lot planned for you today and some really special people involved. So I'm very excited to get things started.
yeah, it's really nice also just to bring community together. We used to do that happy hour during the pandemic, and this felt like a really good opportunity to uh, bring a whole bunch of people in here that we probably haven't seen in a while.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, I think community is paramount in times like this. Um, For those of you who don't know me, my name is Paul Koulos. I am an actor salon coach. Actor Salon, for those of you who don't know, is a life and career business program for actors. That's a partnering program for John Rosenfeld Studios. I'm also an actor, like all of you are. So I am in the same grind that everyone else here is.
And I am John Rosenfeld. Uh, and actually, this is I am a teacher and owner of John Rosenfeld Studios. And I'm very excited to also have Brian Patacca here. Brian Patacca, who will be coming on in just a second, actually worked for me many, many, many years ago. And he actually came to me and wanted to start Actor Salon at the studio because he felt that while we were honoring the artistry of acting and the craft of acting, we really needed to pay attention to the business side of it. Because ultimately, if you're not taking care of the business side of your acting career, it will eventually be at the expense of your acting. Now it has blossomed into something really beautiful, and he's gone on to be Brian Patacca Enterprises, the guru. Uh, and also we have the amazing Leah Huebner, uh, brilliant, brilliant photographer. She was an actor at the studio for a long time, and it's just extraordinary to watch her having gone into photography and made it just such an expression of her like heart and soul. And I just can't say how many people just adore going to her, and she really takes care of her clients, which I believe, I think we all do.
100%. Can I add just a couple things to that? Brian's business is a particularly exceptional one. He has a great fusion between life and career coaching, helping actors to overcome so many of the barriers in this career. He has at least 724 clients to date that he's gotten to sign with agents and managers all across the world. So if you're joining from overseas, Brian can help you there too. He's someone I've worked with as well privately, and I can give you I can promise you the advice and insight he'll give you today will be absolutely invaluable. And Leah, I recommend to clients all the time. I have a friend who's a casting director, and anytime she says she sees a headshot pop in a submission, whenever she researches who took the photo, it's always Leah Huebner. And I know so many clients who have gone fully prepared to see Leah. I know clients who have gone to Leah without any preparation, and she always gets them incredible results. So I think we're super lucky to have their insight today. A little bit of housekeeping before I let everyone talk. I promise I will let everyone talk. Um, so welcome. Uh, no one here today is a guru. We are all, no one here can be right. No one here gets to be wrong. No one here gets to be cool. You may hear things today as part of this Actors Summit that will give you conflicting ideas. And the idea for you is to use the framework that you get today, take it, break it, and make it your own. If something resonates with you, you should absolutely follow up on it. And if something doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. There's no innate structure to anything we do in this business. It's your business to make. So we're going to be talking to you as a hive mind of four collective people who have a lot of experience coaching people in different ways in this business. And then here's a quick overview of what's going to be happening. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the facts, the state of the industry, the nitty gritty of what's going on right now. I'm going to give you guys some numbers to apply to your own business and to inform where things are at. Then we're going to get expert insight with Brian and Leah, which I'm super excited to talk with them about. We'll talk a little bit about our jobs as CEO. We'll perform an actor audit. John and I will lead you through an actor audit of your business. I'll talk to you about some actor databases that you can use for your own business in case you want a little bit more of a granular look at how things are going for you, and give you a tool that you can use to set goals and make further strides in your career as you move forward. And then we'll do a live Q&A with John and I as well. Also, we have 4 giveaways today for attendees. So if you're here, you get a chance to get a lot of goodies from John Rosenfeld Studios. John, were you going to say something?
No, I was just excited about. I wish we would have had a drum roll.
Oh, I know. I know. I wish we had music going on right now too. It just feels like it would be nice to kind of like guide us through it. So without any further ado, let's just jump in real quick to the state of the union. First of all, I just want to say it's not you, and it's probably not your team either. Things are slow right now, and we're seeing, I think we're all probably sick of the word unprecedented at this stage, but things are uncommon. They're very different than they usually are right now. And I just want to follow that up with a little bit of data. Postprod.com came out with a lot of really great information about the industry as it stands today. First of all, post-strike, in Q1 of 2024, we've seen a 7% decline in projects that are actively filming compared to Q1 of 2023. And Q1 of 2023 was significantly down from 2022. So we're seeing a precipitous drop in opportunity right now. On top of that, over the last year, there's been production spend and volume decreasing by nearly half. So that means billions of dollars from the studios and streamers is not being actively invested because of the WGA strike and the SAG-AFTRA strike. On top of that, we had a little bit of a bump this year from the television industry, but film production has decreased by 24%. So again, if it feels a little quiet out there, there's a reason. There's just not as many breakdowns out there to be looking at. And the studios are currently restraining active investment in film and TV while they're navigating the IATSE and Teamsters negotiations, which should be finishing, I believe, tomorrow is their final meeting. And we all stand in solidarity with them and want them to have the best. So more power to them, and I hope that they get everything they want in their negotiations. But I want to end all of that by saying on the horizon, TV series and features are stacking up in active development for the second half of this year, which means there is light at the end of the tunnel, and these streamers and studios are looking to recoup so much of their money. So we want to be ready for them when that time comes. And I think it's pretty common right now to ask yourself, what can we do? What actor paralysis is very real. And so you may be asking yourself, what will the future of this career look like? How can I gain any traction when things are slow? Can I sustain the momentum I have? Are people even taking meetings right now? Well, we're going to hear from, as John already introduced, Brian Patacca, who is the career coach and agent whisperer out there, as well as Leah Huebner today, who is excellent at headshot and brand photography, to give their insight on how you can move your career forward in this business. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen so we can see faces bigger. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Can I say one thing, Paul?
Yeah.
I think this is why we chose this to be the topic of our first summit, is because it feels like this is the most relevant thing to be discussing right now. And I have a lot of data just from experiencing actors in the classroom, and a lot of people just coming in for coaching. And I think that idea of actor paralysis, it's really important to say, like, you can't measure your career by what's happening right this second, right? You really cannot measure it right now. I have plenty of people who are with the top agents and the top managers where they're like, I haven't gone out for a lot, like longer than I've ever had it. And it is truly about having that faith and just thinking, we'll discuss more of that like 5-year principle of, I'll just touch that 5-year principle that like the lives we're living now are a product of all the habits we've practiced and all the seeds we've planted over the last 5 years. So I think it just means we have to be very intentional regarding what seeds we're planting over this next period of time. And that I feel is a good lead off to Brian and Leah.
Hey,
Uh,
Brian, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
sure. My name is Brian Patacca. I have helped, as of yesterday, actually 725 actors find representation all over the world. And I'm really proud of the all over the world part because what people might not know about me is I'm also a non-denominational reverend, which means no dogma, no doctrine, no religion. But at the heart of the very practical resources that I offer to find representation is a belief that we're all here on the planet for a purpose, regardless of how many auditions you're getting, regardless if you like your agent right now or not. And so that truth is, I believe, why this process continues to work, because that's a truth that can't be fought with. And I'm just so delighted to be here today. I'm so glad you asked me to be a part of it. So I can't wait to dig in.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for coming. Leah, please introduce yourself as well.
Hello, I am Leah Huebner. My pronouns are she, her. I am a former actor. Well, I like to say I'm in retirement at the moment. Could always come out, but or hiatus retirement. But for now, my goal is to help other people pursue their dream because acting wasn't my dream anymore. So I'm here to help facilitate that through photos. I've had my business for 9 years now. And yeah, I just like capturing people for who they are and what they're able to do.
I love that. I love that. One of the things I wanted to get things rolling with is Leah. I'm particularly curious. How did you design your experience as a headshot photographer based on your experience in the industry?
I think I only designed based off my experience in the industry. I don't think I could do what I do if I hadn't experienced it. Um, Definitely being on set, knowing what that's like, knowing what breakdowns come in, still having a little idea of it. I'm still tapped into the commercial side of things for more like real people stuff. But I just feel like it's highly important to know what it's like to be on the other side of things, the anxieties that come up. I mean, heck, I have anxiety right now. I'm a little nervous. So like, owning that's one of my big things when people come is like, what you're feeling, say it out loud. Let's not leave it at the door. Let's welcome it, say goodbye to it as well. So here's me saying I'm nervous. Goodbye.
Same.
But yeah, I being on set, but also definitely taking class. I bring in so much of what I learned in JRS to my shoots, like even down to just like a quick little thought. If I see someone's like, their brain has just kind of drifted, I'm like, let's get back in with a thought. So I just could not do what I do if I hadn't experienced it myself.
And Brian, you also come to this career as an actor first, right?
Yeah. So I was lucky, I think, because I had I was lucky because I'm a white, sometimes straight presenting man. And so I was in the privileged position of getting cast a lot in commercials when I first started my career. And then that caught on really quickly in other stuff. And so I had a period of time where I was making my living as an actor. And so I think that happiness, like that kind of satisfaction, can beget risk. And so I was on set. John probably remembers when I booked this job because I was working at JRS and Actor Salon at the time, but I booked this job on the newsroom. It was like a quick, cute scene. Aaron Sorkin sitting there. I'm feeling real hot to trot on set. And I remember being on set and being like, this is totally cool. But I had to cancel on 4 clients to be here today. And I was thinking more about them than I was about my incredible experience with Aaron Sorkin. And I was like, oh, and so then I checked in with a friend. They're like, it's okay if you decide coaching is your number one thing. And then slowly that became very clear to me. Oh my God, coaching is the thing. But I also, I'm sure, I'm imagining, Lee, you would feel the same ways. I never could be the coach that I am today had I not had that out on the street, going to 5 auditions a day in New York City when we were back in person and walking from one to the other and having that be my life and to be able to be here because I wouldn't be able to be the coach or to talk about what that's like. And so much of what I learned also was, being in New York and then coming to LA and working in John's office. What John said earlier, I want to underline that for people, is John has an incredible feedback loop to what's actually happening for actors who are really in this world, because he's coaching people at the top of their game, at the beginning of their game. And so in that world, he knows like, what is the feedback that they're hearing? What are auditions that are happening? And so that's one of the great gifts that I think of being at a studio like JRS is it's not, I mean, if you want to go to an acting class where you roll around in black leotards, go for it. But if you want to be that don't live in LA, like go somewhere else and save money, right? But if you want to actually book and have work that resonates on self-tapes or in audition rooms or on set, then JRS is a studio that provides that. And I think part of that is because John has that direct line both with his clients and also when he's on set acting coaching. And that's one of the reasons I feel so, I don't know, lucky to have been, that was my beginning here in LA, as I did the acting coaching business part of it again. And also to be able to send clients in that direction. I'm not here just like doing a commercial for JRS. I'm saying this because I believe this is for myself, a great gift that I have to be able to send someone to a studio that's that clear, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And John, you're the same. You come as an actor first to this career.
Well, oh my God. What Brian said really resonates with me. I remember I started the studio. I had been teaching since 2002, full time, but when I started the studio in 2010, I'll never forget, I got an audition for Law and Order LA that was such a pain in the ass because I had to cancel on 3 clients. And I was so pissed off that it was taking up my time. I went in there probably because I had so little time. I booked it. And I had a very, I was like, God damn it. I gotta get subs. And that was a very enlightening moment. But what is really rewarding talking to you guys is the one thing I forgot that used to say this, but I say it, I believe it, and I would say it all the time, that if you use acting in the right way and use acting class in the right way, you find out what you really want to do within this industry. You know what I mean? Because if you are truly a creative, that like what you're doing, Brian, what we're all doing is creativity. I don't think it's putting anything on a hierarchy. Being in front of the camera, it's like Ethan Hawke once said, like if you're not okay teaching acting to high school students, you should get out of this business. No, but what he's saying is like to be a creative is to commit to being a creative.
Yeah.
You guys have found your source of fulfillment in these arenas.
Yeah. John, what you just said, if I can just say something, is it's so important because acting class makes you a better human being, I think also. And so that's kind of what you're saying. And also, so for the people who might, I'll have interactions with like a content creator, someone who thinks they're mostly a writer. And I say, acting class is not going to hurt you. You're going to become better at that as well. And so just kind of like, I think that goes along with what you're saying is how much we more know ourselves from something like that.
Exactly.
Can I tap into that self-awareness thing right now? Because I think self-awareness, influences so much about how much further we can make it in this career when we have a healthy level of self-awareness and self-identity in this business. And that comes in the way that we select the materials that we choose to put forth to agencies, to managers, to casting, so that they can better see us and understand who we are when we come into the room. And I'm curious, I guess anyone who wants to jump on this one first. I'm not going to just throw the ball to anyone catch it. But what are some of the ways in which you help actors to find that self-discovery in themselves to without feeling, because I think there's oftentimes a resistance to feeling pigeonholed by only limiting themselves to, I don't want to just be your nice neighborhood guy who fixes your computer. Not that I speak that from experience, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to play everything, what are your thoughts about using that dirty word branding? Or
I'm dying to hear from Leah. I'm so dying to hear from Leah.
Yeah.
So I put you on the spot, but I because it's like, that's your job, right? And so that's why I'm so curious.
Yeah. So first off, I gotta say the word branding absolutely terrifies me. I think I think a lot of people say when they look at my business, they're like, you have such a brand. If I had focused on that from the get-go, I would not have a brand whatsoever. So I gotta say, it does come with time. And also realizing, as an actor, I think about this a lot from my personal experience, and then I'll tap on like how I help people kind of navigate that. But I think back to when, John, Brian, you both first met me. I wasn't out, I wasn't queer, I didn't know who this version of myself was, didn't even know she was possible. Because I was trying to fit into this box. I'm like, I'm an actor, I can do anything, but I know my brand is white het. And so let's make sure that we stay there. But it was interesting once I finally broke free of that. Just finding my queerness, I was like, wow, it just opened up it was like a different sun. And so it's a little bit different because I don't get to touch the actors until they arrive, you know, in the sense of like, that's where I do feel like Brian, Paul, y'all kind of y'all help kind of, you know, work that dough with actors in the sense of finding who they are. I'm the one that's like, okay, now let me capture it, right? But what ends up happening is there are some people who are actor saloners, Patacca-ers, and who come in so prepared, knowing what they need, knowing what they want. They've done all the work. But then I get some people in who have not. And I like all versions because to me it's like, let's play. Let's figure this out, you know? And I always like to, for the people that come in with like no idea whatsoever, I like to kind of get to know them as a human and what their who they are, what they like to do day to day. I like to restructure how we use language. You know, sometimes I get someone who walks in and who's like, I need a sexy shot. And I'm like, okay, heard, your rep told you that, or, you know, someone told you that down the line that that's something you need, and heard, but let's reframe that because we can't do sexy, and like, who's defining what sexy is? So let's rephrase it. And I feel like I'm constantly doing that with a lot of, you know, types and whatever. But in the same way with branding, it's like, if branding scares you, which it scares me, let's rephrase it. Let's find like the thing that I like to tap on that I kind of heard a little bit is I always tell actors, like, don't, my biggest piece of advice is don't take people's advice in this industry because you know what's best for you. You know what feels good. You know what feels right. Your instincts, listen to them. Do not leave them out because they're telling you what's right for me, and my gut and what I believe is going to be different than Brian, than Paul, than John. And so it's like, you have to trust you and what your innate body is telling you. And if you tap into those things, you'll know what feels right. Sometimes people put on an outfit and they go, this isn't really me. And I'm like, then we're not going to do it. Like, let's move on. What's you, you know? So that's some of my verbiage.
I love that.
I love
No,
it.
I love that, but I was thinking, you know, that in our first class tool shop, I put people in front of the camera, I have them stare at the lens and just say, "Hi, I'm John Rosenfeld." And then I have the people in the room just call out, like, what are they expecting from this person? Like, I'm expecting you to be warm or kind, or always tell them to keep it positive. Like, you know, I expect you to be like, you look like a doctor. But, and I think so much of what you're saying, Leah, when you're saying like, I just am trying to figure out who they are, you're literally trying to get them to reveal themselves so you can know, like, okay, let me capture that thing that we're expecting from you.
Yes.
And I agree with you. I have a very fraught relationship with the word branding because it feels dehumanizing to me.
Yeah.
But I do think, especially in this new world where I feel like we're casting is so much more diverse and we are going outside the box. But I do think we have to be clear that when we walk into the room, what are people expecting from us? And then ultimately, it really this career comes down to is living up to what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to just add to this, possibly a inflammatory idea, but I think it aligns with everything you've said, which
Ooh.
is, I agree with everything you've said. And when you go to a restaurant and you order something, you kind of need to know what it's going to taste like. And that's why you choose it. And so I think by the time you get to putting it on tape or you get to doing the headshot, that's great. But if I've never met you before, AKA when you're reaching out to managers and agents, you got to give me like a little bit of a sense of who you are. And I think that there's power in being able to have language to describe what you think you do a little bit. Now, I'll say, to be very clear, I interviewed a bunch of managers and agents when I thought about creating like how to reach out to agents, and 50% of them said, do not tell me anything about your castability. I want to figure this out on my own. But I thought that was really interesting because that means, okay, well, 1 out of 2 wants me to say I'm an authority on my essence, and 1 out of 2 wants them to find it on their own. And so what I always say is like, if you're with a server standing next to the table and they said, can you tell me about this dish? Can you like at least give them a couple words to like run off of so that they know like, oh, that's the one I want to order, or, oh, I know that we have room for that dish on my roster. Like, so I always think that like having a little bit of language, and I think it is beyond sexy, Leah. I think you're like, that's goodbye, right?
Bye-bye.
But I think that being able to help the person who is trying to, I use the menu analogy because I think we've all been in a restaurant where we're like, this sounds good, but is it weird? Like, is this actually weird? I don't know what ramps are. Like you ask questions, right? So what's the seafoam about? Like, so you ask questions. And I think being able to talk about yourself also, when you eventually go to like a meeting with a casting director, if you have a general, you meet with a manager or agent, when you can talk about yourself, there's an incredible authority with being able to say those things. I'm not saying everyone has to have that authority to be able to get a manager or agent or get auditions, but when you can say those things, I think that it is really powerful. And unfortunately, it kind of falls down on gender lines, I notice, because I find if a woman is willing to say, I'm willing to look bad or I'm willing to look not smart, unfortunately, that buys traction in a conversation like this, because most people want to look good in their headshots. That also works for men, but less so because we're more forgiving, which is misogynistic. But I just want to like point that out that like we have to at least, I don't want to say acknowledge the world, but like know that you can like use that for yourself if you want to use it. Like you can be empowered from it instead of disempowered by how you want to decide to use that.
Absolutely. And I just want to say specificity is sexy. Like owning to sit with you, tapping into what you were saying, Brian. I think absolutely. I always tell actors too, when they don't come in with a game plan, when they're looking through their headshots, they're always just going to go for the one that's the most handsome or beautiful.
I look the best. I look the best.
I like, yeah. But if they know, like, I want this I want this flavor of myself. I'm looking for these 3 adjectives in this headshot. Like that's when they get a range of looks in my money, for my money. And also I agree with you, Leah. Like I think our jobs as coaches sometimes is to not necessarily force feed people like a truth, but necessarily to like, I may give you a structure and that may not resonate with you and that won't sit well. And if it's like when you're ordering at a restaurant, like if you're like, I'm choosing between this and someone says, oh, you should get the chicken parm, you're like, oh, I was hoping you'd say the other thing. Then it affirms your belief.
Or they go, I didn't want your opinion, but you threw it on me.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Gotta say,
100%.
like,
yeah.
oh, I did not like, okay, I wanted to sit with this a minute. I'm someone that needs to process a little bit longer. I gotta tap in. I gotta check in with myself. So sometimes if someone's like, you should do this, I'm like, okay, maybe I should, but like, is that even right for me? I'm not sure.
Leah, can I just sidebar note for everyone for the day? Leah, that is the best reaction to anything in my life. I always say to people, your first reaction should be, let me think about it. Not yes, not no. Let me think about it. Or as Oprah says, I'm a prey on that. When you get new ideas, you got to walk away and come back and decide. Yeah.
Absolutely. Brian, you're talking a lot to agents and managers. You have a lot of experience kind of understanding their perspective from a lot of that research you've done. I'm curious, I think a lot of people are wondering right now too, from that perspective, is this even a good time with the industry as it is right now to start conversations about getting representation?
Yesterday is when you should start that conversation. So I think that right now we can be aware that yes, there are agencies closing. We can't pretend that's not. I'm not trying to be Pollyanna at all. That's not fair to anyone. That's like lying, right? So we have to be with what is. And there's an article on Deadline about my client who got signed yesterday. So like no one's mad. No, right. So I'm super excited about it, right? She had 4 meetings. She couldn't decide which one to sign with. It was super exciting. Now, is that everyone's story going to be exactly end up in Deadline? Probably not, but are people getting signed every day? I get an email every day from one of my clients who gets signed. Now, here's what I think. And this is going to be another fiery thought, maybe. I don't want to be with an agent who says to me, it's a really hard time for your category right now.
Absolutely.
So that doesn't mean leave them. That doesn't mean leave them. It does mean, okay, can you help me understand it? It means dig a little deeper. It doesn't mean your team is wrong. When I say I don't want to be with them, let me say what I mean. I don't want to let that be the end of the conversation. Let me say that differently. I want the conversation to be, can you help me understand a little bit? What do you see next? What do you imagine next? Now, they don't have a crystal ball that's magical, right? But I want to see like, where's their thinking going? And I don't think it's a time to just gather ye chickens and be like, I've been with an agent that I haven't talked to for a year and it's really slow right now. So that means I'm probably just should stay with my agent that I haven't talked to. If you haven't talked to an agent for a year, you don't have an agent. Like you're pretending anyway, like what's going on, right? So there's a little bit of like, sometimes we can use the weather, which is like the weather, like it's raining, as an excuse to not shift something that actually probably already needs shifting. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of want to bring that piece to the conversation. And then I also agree with what you said earlier, Paul, is that it's probably not your team. The first, I'm a reverend, so I believe in love. So renew your vows before you go to divorce. Divorce is also okay, but like renew your vows before you decide it's time to divorce. Like go in and have the conversation. And when you say, hey, it seems like it's raining outside. Do you think it's raining outside? Yeah, things are slow right now. So I just wanted to look at numbers because the numbers that I know how to understand are when I get auditions. And so over the past 6 months, we've seen that I've gotten 4 auditions. Does that feel right to you? I just want to check to see, because that's the only place I know how to see if I'm gaining traction. And you do so much more than I do to help me get traction. So I want to understand if this feels right to you. And then you let the agent speak and shut your damn mouth so they can say what they see in that moment. And also, like, I like to like, isn't it a shitty thing that the only way I know how to gauge my audition or work together is the number of auditions I get? Like, that's like a good thought to have for you. It's like the only way I know how to sometimes know if things are going well is the number of auditions. And I know you, agent manager, who hear no 1,000 times more than I will in my entire life. Let's just not forget that. I think that's such an important thing to remember, that you are doing so much that I don't have awareness of. So can you tell me what you think's going on? And I think why an actor is afraid to have this conversation sometimes is the agent might say, you're right, and I don't think we're right for you. And you know what? Thank God you started that conversation, because you just gave them a gift and yourself a gift. Oh my gosh. They get to release whatever agita they had about not being able to get you work. You get to go, oh my gosh, all that energy I was taking up by not being sure. How beautiful that we had this conscious uncoupling, which I believe in, which I like
Mhm.
separate and say we've got what we needed to get from each other. And that is not, again, renew your vows first. My hope is that conversation is a renewal of your vows, not a shift, right? But if you have not talked to your agent in a year and you've like emailed them 4 times or given, and they don't call you back, like that is called ghosting. Have you ever dated before? Like we don't. Yeah.
Right. I think, and when you've already shown up to the relationship with the materials that you've gotten really specific about it, like you and Leah were talking about, like it is like dating, because you're showing who you are from the hopefully from the get-go.
Yeah.
You're drawing the right opportunity and the right connection, the right relationship dynamic from the start.
And Paul, what you just said is really important. And I know this is probably in your coaching as well, is when an agent says to you, you know what, I figured out we need a new headshot. What you don't do is take your time to fill that hole. Because you know what? The agent noticed you needed a new headshot 6 weeks ago and is finally saying it to you. You run to Leah Huebner and you say, when do you have a spot? Let me get on your list. Can I get the picture as soon as I can? Like you run, and that's why I think you show the agent or the manager who you're going to be as a client. Now, that isn't always to say, hey, I just got pictures. Are you sure? Can we look back at some other ones we did? Just if you don't have the, I want to make sure we're not like endless resources of money to take headshots every other day. But you can like have you get to have that conversation around like, yes, I can give you this one in the meantime. I want to shoot another one in a couple of weeks. Like, I always think that what you said is you show people who you are, right? So if you're expecting your agent to be the Superman, which it's not going to happen, they're going to be awesome, but be relaxed, then you're going to have to show up too, I think, for when they ask for something.
And I think I do want to just, I know this goes without saying, but we also need to have empathy for some of these agents and managers right now.
Oh my God.
An enormous amount of empathy, because like I do think that when it comes to frustration, you really have to earn it as an actor. Meaning I need you to know you have to earn frustration, because sometimes I'll hear an actor complain that they're not getting out, but their work's not great. And I go, your work better be consistently great every week so you earn that I'm not getting out.
Yeah.
I mean, to put it in the terms of another business, it's like I'm handing someone a sales lead and then they're just flopping on it.
And if you're
they drop the ball.
And if you're only wanting to really invest a lot of energy into your acting when you're getting auditions, that doesn't make sense. You know,
Y'all listen, I would like to go out of business so that you're in acting class more than me. Like when a business acting coach says to you, your marketing is the reason why things aren't happening. I say, okay, maybe if you're acting all the time, you're spending most of your time, energy, and money on your acting, that could be true. But it really makes my skin crawl when someone says it's because of this, it's because of marketing. Like, let's just make sure your acting is where it needs to fit in the business. Again, that points to why I think that JRS is a good fit in studios that we're having people auditioning, because you see what people are putting out.
You know, I one little anecdote. I think I can think of a handful of times over the years where I've just had actors come into class where they've done really, truly, consistently great work, like week after week for a long period of time. And they've had this moment where they're like, I'm just fucking ready. I'm fucking ready, you know? And they're like, I know I'm doing good work. I know I've gotten close, but like, And I know booking a job doesn't mean anything, but I could really, I could use that fucking pat on the back. And every single one of them got a really big job within like a month. But it was, think, because they arrived at this place where they was this confidence in what they're doing. They just are ready for like the universe to go their way.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
And I think that's where we all need to arrive at.
One of the things I think is really, when I talk to clients about it, is that they feel like the marketing and the business end of their craft needs to leave creativity behind.
Mm.
And I think that is absolutely, I mean, you have to do a different type of work, but you can bring your creativity to infuse that level of work. And I'm curious, from each of you, like Leah, like for instance, like how do you bring, how do you, I guess you kind of play photographer, but also director during a shoot. How do you like to, when an actor starts to feel like awkward or stiff or frozen in the middle of their shoot, what helps an actor to make it creative again and not about just getting a photo?
Numerous fire trucks going by,
Oh,
so I had to mute for a second. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's really important to bring play to it. You know, I always tell people, don't leave your actor at the door. Just because this is photos does not mean that we are posing where I'm not modeling. I want you to be a human in front of the camera. I think my shooting style really helps with that. I never am like chin up, head this way, arm here, and now suck in your stomach and push your clavicles out. I'm like, be a human, flow, move, chin up, chin down. A lot of times it's in the middle of the movement that we get the shot. So sometimes it's in movement, but sometimes it's also in a thought. Like all of a sudden someone's there. I'm like, hey, I want your thought to be like, don't fuck with me. And then all of a sudden they're there and then they're like, it's gone. And so it's like, okay, that didn't work for them. We need to find a different thought. You know, maybe it's don't touch me. You know, whatever it is. I just want, I coach, I give thought. I do exactly what John does, but I do it in the moment while we're shooting. And I just feel like the freedom of just letting people move is really important, because a lot of times the nervousness, the anxiousness, it's locked in the body. And so if I'm like making you lock in these very particular ways, it's locking that anxiety and nervousness. Whereas again, get it out, own it, put it out there, you know, whatever to make you feel back to yourself. You know, for me, it's taking massive deep breaths, because even right now I'm cutting myself off from breathing because I'm nervous and want to say what I need to say, you know. And then reminding myself like, no, I need a deep belly breath in this moment. So I like to do that with my clients, and yeah, playing and not forgetting that, you know, we're playing a character and we're thinking about, I think right now I'm finding, rather than, you know, 5 years ago, it was like, be a character, you know, put Best Buy Helpful Honda, put it on you, this, put it on you. Like we're grabbing these different outfits, right? And now I feel like it's not outside of ourselves. I feel casting, I feel reps want to know, what are these versions of you? Rather than pulling and putting on, we're pulling from ourselves. Like, I can still be the Best Buy Helpful Honda. I can still wear a blue polo, but what's my flavor of that? How can am I the super helpful? Am I I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm on it. No idea, but I'll figure it out. Or am I I have no fucking clue and I'm going to show you all over my face? You know, like there's different ways to play it and bring your version of it out. I hope that answered.
I think that absolutely answered it. And does anyone else want to top on like bringing creativity to the business end of things, Brian? Or
I think you said at the beginning, Paul, which is you briefly said, you know, we're not gurus, which is like John has a way in, Paul has a way in, Leah has a way in, and we have to then, as the individual receiving this, is like, okay, what works for me and what doesn't work for me, and how do I want to make it my own? We have a value inside of my business that's called Rebel with a Cause. So if you've got a new idea or it's totally opposite the way we do it, yes, can you talk me through it just so I can fully get on board with it? Or maybe show a few obstacles that I think might get in your way if you're going to go that way, so that your creativity is like the top line here. Like, yes, run with it. So I'm sure with Leah, when you're on a shoot and someone's like, I think I want to do this, whatever, you're like, totally. Here's some things that sometimes might go wrong with that. Let me just talk through, like, keep going. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here's what we'll do. Yeah. And that's when the collaboration piece happens, of course. And that's when I think you're able to trust your teacher more, or trust your leader in that space, because my instincts, my creativity are also a part of the conversation. Otherwise, I think we're going to have a bunch of actors who look like robots, and we don't want that. We had a whole strike about it.
Yeah, tapping in. I also like to reframe a lot. Yes, director, sure, but if anything, I usually like to say I'm your scene partner. Like, we are doing this together, and you can lead at any point. If you need help leading and need me to take, that's what I'm here for. And I'm constantly trying to, like, yeah, do the dance. It's a scene partner. I look good because you look good, and you look good because you're trusting me. And it's not this like end all be all, I'm the director and you're wanting to please me. It's a collaboration. I'm your partner.
Can I ask John a question?
Yeah.
John, since your job is so much to help uncover a writer's intention and to work with someone in an acting class, like, we need to at least honor the writer's intention. When an actor's coming in, I'm not gonna say with the wrong idea, with like a total wackadoo take on that, and yet maybe they're like a wackadoo type, and like that's the thing that's of course what they should like. Can you talk just that through a little bit? Because I think it's such an interesting thing that actors can be challenged by.
That's really interesting. The other day, someone came in with a take that, to me, I mean, was definitely not what was on the page, but it was wildly entertaining. And I thought that for that person, I was like, look, if you get these sides, I go, and for some reason you're being brought in for this appointment. And I said, for this particular person, I said, I would not mind you coming in with that take, as long as you are authentically saying, I know I'm not this person, but at least I have a story I want to tell with this that at least brings me some pleasure and brings me some joy. And then you're illustrating that you are in command of the craft, that you're not just guessing. I think more than anything, what I try to say is like, look, your job is to go into a room, if you are going into a room, and you can even, by the way, use your slate to say that, people
Wait, tell us what that means.
Meaning when you're saying, hey, I'm John, if I'm gonna say, hey, John, by the way, I know that I'm taking a bold take, but
I love that.
Why not? I think we get way too officious in our thing. Hi, I'm John Rosenfeld, and I'm not interesting. I want to make sure that like you just said, Leah, we want humans. You are allowed to say, I just love this I love this part. I love this part. What's wrong with saying that's not needy if it's an authentic expression of what you're doing? But I do think, like, listen, I think it's a case-to-case basis. I think there are times where people are trying to make it interesting, and then
I don't want to watch that. I don't want to see
that, and you're not just telling the story. And some actors will say, this feels so boring, but I'm watching, I go, it's not boring at all. You're actually just serving the material. So I think it's also about taste and aesthetic. And I go, but I agree with you, Lee. I think that you develop taste over time. You know what I mean? It evolves, and I think you start to realize, like, so much of what I'm thinking about is like, know every character's experience, in the scene. You have to know, and how do you fit within that, and how will the story you're telling serve the other actors in the scene. So I think it's again, it's such a case by case basis, but there are absolutely going to be times where you do not fit that part. You know what I mean? But you can still show them, I'm right for this show, not this part. But be clear that that's your intention. Be clear that you're saying, because sometimes you'll try to be that part, and that's just going to strip you of everything, of all the stuff that you want to bring out and that you think will pop. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, for sure. Leah, do you ever have people come to you and like, I need to get this kind of picture, and you're like, I don't understand what you're talking about? Like, do you ever feel like I don't? Do you have to like get them to translate it for you, or like?
No, not usually.
Okay.
But this is where I take back what I do for me personally, as if I was actor human, is different than, because I'm immediately like, yes, let's do it. And then I'm like, let me see. Oh, this is what you were saying. Like, I'm just like, let's do action. I sometimes I guess I need clarity, but for the most part, I'm like, let's do it. I had someone come
Okay.
with a full armored suit one time and was like, I just want to show off this like armor. And I was like, yes, please. And he had this like rose and he was like posing with it. And I was like, you're probably, this is more for branding and I'm here for it. I'm so here.
I love it.
Yeah, off the wall. I get random off the wall things all the time, and I love it. It's a weird ass form of, excuse me, creativity, you know, and surprise. And so yeah, nothing really surprises me because things surprise me in a lovely way,
Got
but
it.
I never like, what's that, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, and baby.
Yeah.
I just want to say real quick, I thank you so much for everything you guys have shared so far today. I really appreciate everything you've said. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has really great questions. If any of the attendees have a question, you want to raise your hand. We will let you ask a couple questions, and if not, no worries. Brian, Leah, if there are a way, is there a way for people to get in touch with you for upcoming events? Brian, you have something coming up tomorrow.
I do tomorrow. I'll be right back on camera. Tomorrow and Saturday and Tuesday, I'm teaching Make Agents Want You Live. That's the class where all 725 people started their journey. It's a free class. It's about 75 minutes long. It's not an hour. It's definitely 75 minutes. And then I will stay afterward to answer every single question that anybody might have. My goal is that if you're someone who's been challenged to understand how to get representation, or you're with reps, you're considering leaving, you'll leave this with just some more clarity about how you fit into the business, and also how to describe yourself and use language to talk about your accomplishments and your almosts, and kind of a way to present yourself in a way that feels authentic and doesn't feel sticky or gimmicky or gross or ick or you want to barf. And the website is makeagentswantyou.com, and you can RSVP for either any of the 3 live options and I'll see you there and answer every single question.
And Leah, how can people get on your waiting list that goes up? That's
Yeah.
constantly
So
full.
I just gotta address why there's a wait list. What is going on there? I firmly believe that every client deserves me at my 100%, and fully present. Actually, no, I take back. I feel like 100% is a lot to live up to. So I believe everybody deserves me fully present, and that is really important to me. So I don't like to stack too much during a day. So that is why it's a little more difficult to get in with me, because I'm not jam packing my schedule. I'm not making people feel like a number. But okay, so you can, I would say for everyone in here, feel free to reach out to me directly. Say that you were here, huebnerheadshots@gmail.com. I have an assistant who does handle a lot of my scheduling, but if you're interested in headshots and you're scared of the wait list, reach out. Summertime is a very, very normal time for people to, yes, I book 2 months in advance, but summertime, a lot of people reschedule because they book things that they didn't expect or whatever. So summer is a really great time to get these last minute slots, or slots that, you know, someone will reach out 2 weeks in advance and be like, I actually have to push. Great, we have a slot open. We can either email it to the wait list, or if someone has a particular time they want to get in, email me. I'll reach out. We'll try and make it work. And the pickup sessions we say are just for return clients only, but I would like to give the gift of anyone in here right now, if they're interested in a pickup session, even if I haven't worked with you yet, feel free to reach out, and I would be happy to do a 1 or 2 look if that's something that's needed. Those we schedule about like a month or so in advance.
That's awesome.
Very good. Thank you both for coming today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate all the insight you shared. And hopefully everyone shows up to make Agents Want You, and everyone signs up with Leah in the coming months to forward their marketing materials.
We have one raised hand.
Oh, I would like
How
to.
exciting.
I'm going to allow you to talk and ask your question. Hello.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes,
You can't see me, I think, right?
that's correct. It's just your voice.
Okay, great. My name is Estefania. I am joining from Puerto Rico. I'm very happy that I was able to join this. It's been extremely helpful, exciting, and hopeful to listen to every one of your perspectives and experiences. I'm basically new to this industry, and I sometimes feel very lost. And I guess my question is, taking into consideration the state of the industry right now, what should I be doing besides taking classes? I want to make sure I am being proactive, but I also don't want to get in the line of, getting into my head and then being like, oh yeah, I'm ready, which basically I think I'm not ready yet. But basically, I just want to make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's my question. What should I be doing?
Well, I'm really glad. Well, that is what the rest of this whole webinar is going to be about, let's really look at how you're conducting your career.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
that's what the audit we're about to start.
Awesome. Great.
Really, is really going to be
Good
about.
introduction then.
Thank you, Estefania. Adam. Hey, Adam. How's it going?
Guys. Hey, John, Brian, Paul. I think the only person I haven't met personally is Leah.
Hello,
Nice
Adam.
to meet you. It's interesting to listen. This discussion was almost felt customized. My reps had just told me that they felt like they need images, which, as Brian pointed out, means they needed them, like 6 weeks ago. I'm wondering, and while I'm trying to gather data before I show up, in front of Leah with a suit of armor on, I'm wondering if any of you guys are doing like like a typing class. The last one I did was actually in Actors Salon, where, I'm thinking about that menu aspect of the conversation, where what I'd be interested in is attending one of those again now, to kind of see how I come off on the menu, so people know, have a sense of what my seafoam is all about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just want to, I was wondering if you guys are doing that at Salon, or Brian, if you have something that you do in your sphere, if there's anything like that coming up.
Well, I mean, certainly at Actor Salon, we do that level of accountability and investigation with each and every person who participates. So even if you just did a few months of it to help you get those materials together, we absolutely work. I work with actors all the time with that specific issue, so that they're ready for Leah's shoot. So that they and are ready to come to the table with a headshot photographer, ready to collaborate with them,
right?
Because it should be that. But you're right; it can be hard to get that outside insight.
Can I just ask? You said your reps are wanting. Did they give you any ideas of what they want?
No. And the first step in my mind is getting clarification from them exactly what they think they need, and then I'm going to borrow Brian's, let me think about that, and then use that as a stalling tactic to then go to like Actors Salon, and or even talk to you, John, about, John, I'd say has a pretty good sense of me.
Adam, on Tuesday night, I'm going to pop you in front of the camera, and we're going to do that exercise again in front of the entire class, and we'll start.
That's a great
There
idea.
you go.
But then, like Leah said too, at the end of the day, it's about kind of taking this information, and then I think trying to internalize it and see where I feel like it organically lives inside of me, and then then schedule with you, Leah, and
I would go ahead and get scheduled sooner rather than later.
I'm writing the email right now.
And Adam, I just want to say one more thing about this whole Castability Essence branding thing. Just remember, I don't think anyone ever goes, I've nailed it. I have no more thoughts. Like, just kind of expect, I mean, for those good students out there who are listening, like, usually be like, I got enough of an idea that I can show up to a shoot. Like, you just have to kind of be okay with enough. Like, I can, without having to feel like I can say, like, I have got, like, that just, I don't see any actor who does that. And when someone does do that, I kind of worry a little bit because I'm like, actually, you should feel like, this is what
Right.
I'm seeing right now. Like, it changes with the weather. What I've watched on TV yesterday affects my answer today. Yeah.
I have to say two things. I think it's the same thing with putting these weird limitations and parameters on you that you have to lose weight before you come to headshots. I think this is a very similar thing. Like, just trusting that you do enough work. It's like an audition. If you had years to work on this one audition, you would do it, but you don't. There's a timeline. So, like, also trusting that as well, for sure.
Yeah,
And I had one more thing, but I've lost it. So
Yeah, I know we have more questions, but I think we could be asking questions here for a little while, and there's a little bit more to come. I'm going to ask the folks who have their hands raised right now to hold those questions until the very end, and John and I will cover these. I'm going to let Brian and Leah go for right now. I really am so grateful for your expert insight. And I promise you, John and I will take those questions at the end and make sure that either we'll get them answered for you or we'll get you to the people who can answer them for you. So thank you, everybody. I really, really appreciate all the time you've given today. And yeah.
Y'all are in for a really good treat. Let us get out of here so Paul and John can do their thing.
Thank you, guys. You are amazing.
Thanks. See you soon. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Bye, Leah. Okay.
Okay, we will yeah, we'll ask we'll answer the questions after we give away the goodies.
Yes, we will. The giveaways are to come. So I'm just going to go back to sharing my screen here. And yeah, that's Leah again. There we go. Okay, John, you talked a little bit about this when we were beginning the conversation, but I think this is a great way to pick things up right now with the 5-year principle.
I think I just look at my own acting career, and I remember after graduate school, I invested every bit of energy. I learned to work 16 hours a day from grad school, and I hit New York running, and I was saying yes to everything, every bad play, which led to a good play, self-submitting, being out in the world, saying yes to readings. And it got me to a place where there was just an accumulation of accomplishments where people were actually talking about me. And then I signed with really big rep. And then I moved to LA, still worked very hard. And I started to finally book those jobs, but it took like 5 years of like steady investment in acting, in just being out there in the world. And then eventually I stopped saying yes to everything and started investing more time in my teaching. And I wasn't aware of it, but while I had planted so many seeds in acting, they still were paying some dividends for a while. But when I'm honest with myself, I stopped actually planting any more seeds, right? I started saying no to a million things and just saying yes to coaching. So you just start to see the acting career go down and the teaching career go up. So I just say that the life you're living now is a product, and I get that the strike and the pandemic certainly is kind of screws with the calculus a little bit. But I think the life you're living now is a product of all the habits you practiced, all the seeds you planted over the last 5 years. So what we're talking about is being very intentional about what are the seeds you're planting from this day forward. So that what do you want your life to look like in 5 years?
100%. I think our job as CEO is to take a look at where things are at currently, perform an honest, educated, data-driven audit of your business based on, and so that you can make educated decisions that look at the information that you have before yourself, and be able to acknowledge the strengths that you have, to be able to look and witness, like, what are the things you're already currently doing correctly. There's a really great quote here I have from young Pueblo, if we do not feel gratitude for acting in the way that supports our transformation, then we will lack the practice to fully appreciate the accomplishments of our bigger goals. So we have to look and appreciate what we're doing right so that we can maintain that status quo. Additionally, though, we need to be able to take action on what needs improvement, and whether that's something you are willing to directly take responsibility for, or something you're willing to have someone else delegate. Maybe you're not really good at reel editing, or maybe you need that acting coach to help you with your auditions, to kind of help you get that level of script analysis to be sharper. Being able to kind of know that about yourself is really important. That's why we do the audit. And then identifying patterns. Maybe you start to recognize when you do your audit that you've established a relationship with a casting director who keeps calling you back in for a certain type of show, or casting associate. Maybe your commercial callbacks are inconsistent, or maybe there's a certain type of character that the industry is bringing you in for a lot. Maybe that means that your marketing materials are bringing you in for a certain type, but not for another type. Or maybe you start to realize that your manager and your agents have different relationships that are really beneficial for you. And then from that audit, being able to set our long-term goals, investing in our long-term vision. Really, one of the things that we do in the Actor Salon is focus on manifestation every single time. So we have a very clear idea of what is fueling us, what, as Brian was saying earlier, aligns us with our passion and our purpose in this industry. Then from that, we create a strategy based on measurable tasks, things that we can actually action and say, this was done, this was not done. And we want to be able to communicate that with our team, have a database in which we can track that progress, and then can continue to push ourselves to develop and iterate so that we keep getting better and better in each one of the different areas that we are trying to improve in. So, and it's really important too that we are looking ahead, but we are measuring our progress backwards. We don't ever want to compare our level of success with where we want to be. What will bring us joy and happiness is being able to kind of track exactly what we've already done to this point. And that goes back to what John was saying about establishing habits and routines that can keep you in that flow. Let's talk a little bit about the different areas of our business that we're going to be auditing today. I personally like to think of our business as a wheel that's supported by many different spokes. And when we don't give equal attention to each different area, our career will halt and stall if we don't continue to give added weight distribution to the other areas. Those areas include all of these ones that are listed on your screen right now, which we'll go into more detail about. But we can't just focus on craft. As much as, it's very important to have that as the foundation of where we begin. It's, as John was saying earlier, it can't be the only thing we give attention to. We have to give equal weight to each one of these things. So let's do a little bit of an audit. Each one of you, grab a writing utensil if you want. We're going to guide you through this, and we're going to ask you to write on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 being non-existent, 10 being exceptional, how you feel about each of the different areas of your career. And you're gonna rate these based on a gut instinct, your first impulse. It's not meant for you to get this right or perfect. There's no such thing, because if you were to take this test tomorrow, you may feel differently. But the idea is that you are giving yourself a response in the moment right now. And so it'll look something like this kind of at the end of it. You ready, John?
I'm ready.
All right.
Rip on.
So we'll start with craft and product development. I think there's a lot of things to say about this. It's like you were saying this earlier, John, it's the foundation of everything.
I think we have to be really honest with ourselves and about where are we at? What are we ready for? Because I think as an actor right now, if we are going to feel like if we really want more opportunities, that means we have to be ready for more opportunities. And that means being ready, but not having a list of things or secrets that you feel like, well, I'm not ready for that, or I'm not good at that. I think as actors, we need to have all of our muscles developed. And that means let's be really clear on Are we ready for that procedural tomorrow where you're playing a doctor or a lawyer? Are you ready for that comedy that might come in? Are you actually staying current with the industry regarding, you know, are you aware of the writing? Are you aware of the writers? Are you aware of the frequency of each show?
Hmm.
You know, to me, this is all about, it's about being current, in touch with the industry, but also just being in touch with being honest with yourself about where you're at this particular moment.
Absolutely. And are you developing new skills on top of that as well? So
Right.
ask yourself, do I feel confident in my acting voice, body, and skills? Do I feel stimulated creatively right now with my acting or a personal project? And am I acquiring new skills that I feel are pertinent to my specific business, whether that's fight training or juggling or accents, whatever that is for you, a new language even. So rate that on a scale from 1 to 10. The next spoke would be headshots. This is we spent a lot of time with Leah talking about this. This is your calling card. This is the way in which you're kind of presenting yourself accurately to people. And as John said, like, are they going to be surprised when you walk into the room based on the headshot that was given to them?
Yeah. It was interesting even with Brian, you know, because Brian's a very striking man, isn't he? He's just a very striking man.
Yes.
So you really had to make sure to create appropriate expectations. You know, his headshot had to truly represent him, and it was fun to watch him like find those shots.
100%.
You know what I mean? That were
Yeah. Ask yourself, do my headshots look professional and represent me now? Do I have 3 to 5 looks that show my range? Do I see these headshots resulting in auditions for roles that are fit for me? I think that level of self-awareness that we talked about earlier is really important to know what qualities, as John was saying, do you get for free because of who you are innately. We'll next piggyback that off of looking at your reel. This is proof of concept for what we do. If you, yeah, go ahead, John.
No, we need evidence of what you're doing, right? I mean, I talk to agents and managers all the time. I talk to casting directors. Um, I can't call them and just say, trust me, Paul's really good. No matter what, they're going to say, can you send me his material? Send me his reel. And when it comes to your reel, I don't need you to have been in a movie with Brad Pitt where you have a big scene. Or what I also don't need is that one line you had in the Brad Pitt movie where you're in the background. I would rather a great audition tape. A great audition tape could serve you so well. And also, I don't want you to pay $1 million to some service where they're shooting is they write it for you. I actually did have a couple of clients on my Wednesday night, lovely, talented people. They actually loved this movie Bottoms. I don't know if anyone's seen Bottoms, but they're like, they got inspired by that and they wrote a scene for themselves, kind of in that tone. And it was a really well done scene, and the acting was fantastic. And she signed with a huge, no, not huge. But she signed with a very solid manager that she's very excited about. But what I love is that she did it because it was truly an expression of something that she was excited about. So at the end of the day, there's no single right way to do it. Obviously, it would be great if you know, were the lead of a movie with you know, Sandra Bullock. But the reality is you probably don't need a reel if that's what you already have.
Absolutely not. No. I mean, and it's really, you know, you may give a great audition too, and they may be like, I'm a little bit more curious, and they want to have that material of another self-tape or, you know, some other clip or reel of that from past work that you've done can be incredibly influential to helping you get that next big role.
Yeah, and I do think it's very important for everybody when you're thinking about if you are doing like a pitch deck or you are creating just you're putting yourself on tape, that you are watching television and film and really recognizing that is where I that is where my soul is telling me I belong. I belong on that show and that type of part, right? Because
And that it's representative of the work you should be cast in now. So ask yourself, do I have footage from past projects or self-tapes that are representative of my skills and the work I want to book?
right.
On a scale from 1 to 10. Your resume. The resume is as much a part of the story and narrative that you're trying to accurately depict for your agents, your casting directors, manager, so that they can understand where you've been. And I'm constantly surprised when I coach clients that their things aren't formatted to really highlight the thing that they probably that could be giving them that next opportunity. So many people I know who have a lot of comedy training who leave that out or bury it somewhere on their resume, or are focusing more on film and television, but maybe have a little bit too much theater listed in their resume, and that's not really where they're driving things. So is your resume showcasing your past and where you're going? Is it formatted properly on all profiles? And have you highlighted your skills and your training?
Yes. Please do not put background work on your resume.
That's a great bit of advice. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to help you. That wouldn't help you either. We often think that, and that's for those of you who are out there who are new, I want you to know that like being new is its own asset. Being new in the industry means you're untapped new potential, and to be able to kind of embrace that at the beginning of your career is important. I had a client sign this past week with somebody who has nothing really like flashy on their resume, but signed with a great big agency. So I don't want you to feel necessarily bad that your resume doesn't have like the biggest credits on it, but really what I'm asking here is for you to format it correctly and properly, so it's telling the right story. Auditions. I think auditions, you can ask yourself a couple questions here. Do you feel like the auditions you're getting are correct for you? They're right for your casting, and are you satisfied with the frequency with you audition? And do you feel confident in your audition process? Do you get feedback like callbacks or bookings or even just future auditions from that same office? Rate that on a scale from 1 to 10. Am I getting the right opportunities? Do I feel confident? And do I get positive feedback?
And I would say that if you don't
Yeah.
have, and let's say, for example, that you're not having a lot of opportunities, I really encourage everyone to self-submit just so you are in the practice of auditioning, even if you're not even going to take the role. I just think that making auditioning a non-event in your life is really important.
Absolutely. I think that piggybacks on the next thing we're talking about here, which is self-taping and Zoom. John, you offer what is it, a free 30-minute coaching for any actor who does 30 consecutive?
Anybody who's in class, enrolled the studio, I say, I'll give you a free half-hour coaching if you put yourself on tape for 30 consecutive days. I'm just bribing you to get into the practice of doing that. We are living in a world where everything, yes, some theatrical auditions are going back in the room, but not many. I have a client who's, got a huge callback for this multicam on Zoom today with some big hitters. And it's like, wow, even because one person's in like Utah, like all the producers are all over the city. They'd like it to be in person, but it's just not going to happen that way. So when I have an actor come in and say, God, I just have to get used to this Zoom thing, I'm like, yes, you do. You have to get used to the Zoom thing real quick, because this is where a lot of callbacks are still happening here. No one got into acting so they could sit in front of a computer and audition. I know that, but it is the reality of our world right now. And
Yeah.
I was forced into it so my studio could survive in March of 2020, but I ended up making it my friend. And you got to make it this can actually be a creative act where you get to really realize this is a frame, and knowing how to use depth and to be able to create environment, all of that. And when it comes to self-tape, same thing. Look, when I was coming up, there was no self-taping. You went to the room. Sometimes someone had a camera and you were like, what is that over there? You're taping me? But yeah, we just have to make this a habitat that we're not only familiar with, but it has to kind of feel like home.
And witnessing actors are being asked to witness their work as well.
Well, what I love about this self-tape world is that it can reinvigorate your relationship with your representation more. Like, it used to be that you'd leave an audition room, call your reps, and they go, it went great. You could create your own narrative, right? Or you could say, yeah, went great, but then they're like, why didn't you get a call back? And now they actually get to see your work. So I can't tell you how many clients I've had where this self-tape process has gotten them so many more opportunities because the reps are now realizing just how good their auditions consistently are.
Yeah, absolutely. So ask yourself, do you have the equipment needed to audition? Do I feel confident with my software and my gear? Or do I have a system for filming self-tapes that alleviates these concerns? So whether that's coaching with somebody else or somebody else you know who has the means to help you through that process, you don't necessarily need to bear the weight of it, but do you have a system? Database. This is my nerdy category that I think is really important.
All your nerdy category. But
I love data. I love data. And I think it's important for actors to be able to make educated decisions and have a clearer understanding of where things are at, because I think we miss a lot of opportunity when we don't understand, like, wow, like I really do go in for a lot of white collar characters, which means that my marketing is really working well for that. And I have something dialed in the way I present to this industry, and it's resonating with other casting directors and my agents as well. But maybe if I feel like I'm right for something else, what can I do to kind of improve those other areas? So I think it's really important to keep track of 4 different categories specifically. Do you have a way to monitor your auditions? Do you have a way to keep track of all the people in your what used to be called your Rolodex, your contact database? Do you track the past work that you've done? And do you keep in touch, or do you keep track of the networking opportunities that you also do, whether that's casting director workshops or mixers? Are you tracking all that stuff so that you understand how frequently you're out there engaging with other people? So ask yourself, do I have a system for tracking these 4 categories? Do you feel like you have accurate oversight at your fingertips? And is it up to date currently? And if it's not,
I'm remembering. Go ahead. No, I'm remembering something. This was years ago where I just had felt a lull in my auditions. And I randomly was like, you know what? And I had booked something, and I just decided to write like 5 postcards to casting directors who had cast me before. And what was amazing was that I got brought in by each of them, all of them within 2 weeks for other projects. And here's the most amazing thing. I never did it again. Because I was like, which shows you my own terrible, the way I ran that part of my business. I always say that if I ran my acting studio, if I ran my acting career like I run my acting studio, I probably wouldn't have an acting studio. I would have still had an acting career. Because I think we really have to recognize our relationship to the waiting. It's the in between the auditions, it's in between the jobs. But actually, I would just encourage you to think of being on set. That's vacation time.
Yeah.
That's yay, I get to play. But if we can somehow really focus on doing stuff like this, it's just going to serve you really well. I mean, that was me literally. That was my limited database. And my database was built on who's cast me before.
Exactly. I completely agree. Finances. Money is not always the best, easiest topic to talk about, but I meet a lot of actors who expect to make money from acting within a short amount of time of starting. And not that that's impossible, but the chances aren't as high for that to happen as we all think. So I think it's important to understand that we need to have a stream of income that's coming in. Do you feel like you have a base of income that can support this career for you? I think additionally, taxes aren't sexy, but saving money is very sexy. And I want you to all to ask yourself, do I have an understanding of how to, as an actor, properly prepare myself for my taxes? Do you understand that, you can write certain expenses off, whether that's things like research viewing for movies or streaming subscriptions or networking opportunities that you've dined out with your agents or maybe people you're working with in class and producing with, a percentage of your internet bill, or even like square footage in your apartment that you can write off. We have to have a system for kind of tracking that. And also, as actors, since nothing is really given to us, do I have a plan of action for long-term savings and investments? Because it's also important that we are, as actors, taking financial care of our futures as well. So ask yourself, do you have a job security? Do you have an understanding of long-term savings and investments to plan for this career? And do you have a system for tracking actor-related expenses and understanding how to prepare for tax season for your career?
I want to use the restroom, so I don't, please tell me if you already said this, but I think it is very important to make clear that sometimes we let our relationship to like the business of acting toxify our relationship to the art of acting and the love of acting. And it's very important to like separate the two. Because think about it, when we got into, I'm imagining that most of the people out there, when they were getting into this career, they did it just because they loved acting and they were never thinking about the money. They were never even occurred to them the money. Then all of a sudden they get into the real world and you realize it does take money to be able to invest your time and effort into this career. Right? So, you know, I had a great therapist who once said, you can't build a house on quicksand. You know, got to build it on a solid foundation. And I think one of those foundations is being able to, you know, walk around the world not feeling this incredible pressure and weight that it needs to happen. You know,
It'll sap your creativity.
it saps your creativity. So sometimes I've told people, like, why don't you just take some time off and get that part of your life together so you can actually really come in full force.
100%, 100%. It's okay if this is the area you need to focus on. Absolutely, give it the time it deserves.
Yeah.
Piggybacking off of what John was saying earlier about postcards, outreach and connection and talking to people is really important. I remember I did a casting director workshop and it went really well. And afterwards, the casting director was like, "You are great. Why don't I know you?" And I felt like that was a bit of a tragedy because I was like, well, I've been here for, a decade or so. So like, and that's on me, like to, build those relationships and to get out there so that people do know who I am. And it's literally, like John says, it's being out in the world. It doesn't necessarily need to be an ugly word, networking, but it can be it's really just showing up and being part of the community.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, you're always creating, there's always a domino effect with everything that you do. You know, like when you go into a classroom, the way you engage classmates or how prepared you are, that creates a domino effect, right? All of a sudden, if Paul's in class with somebody and he sees how great they are and prepared, the next time someone talks about a role that's open, and they're going to remember that actor has made such a great impression. But I think at the end of the day, we do have to be out there engaging. And sometimes I'm not a big fan of the word networking because it has negative connotations to me. Because it feels like, to me, that often means to going out into the world to disingenuously befriend people so that they can help you. Not be it. I just think it's the process of getting habituated to saying yes and, being the best version of yourself in the world. And ultimately that is going to attract something positive.
Absolutely. So ask yourself, am I regularly engaging with the community and maintaining your relationships of people around you? Do you have a target list of casting directors that you are looking to engage with? And are you seeking new opportunities to meet people as well?
Right.
Representation. We heard from Brian Patacca earlier, who I think has a lot of wisdom around this area, but I think it's important that we have a healthy relationship and the right representation for each of us. And I think we all probably think it's going to be the biggest agent, but sometimes it's not always the biggest agent who's right for us. And really, you want someone who's excited about you too, that you feel confident that you can communicate with.
Paul, you're really good at helping people with this. You're so good. Yeah, at the end of the day, your representation, it truly is a relationship.
Yeah.
I think you just got to really, you can't go by the signage, Because I know certain people who get with like, the biggest agents or managers that are around, but then, and nothing against those agents or managers, but they truly don't have as much time for them because they're focusing on the people who are bringing in millions of dollars. And then all of a sudden they go, to someone not quite as big and they feel really well taken care of. So there's no right answer to this. It's really, I think it really comes down to, is it working?
100%. And are we both showing up to it like a marriage? So ask yourself right now, do I have representation, whether that's an agent or a manager? Do I like our relationship and communication? Are they getting me opportunities, and am I bringing them opportunities? Are we collaborative? So if there's something that needs to happen, are we able to have that conversation?
I mean, there is that saying, I don't know whether that still applies, but like, look, they get 10%, which means you still have to do 90% of the work.
100%.
Now,
Yeah.
and sometimes I will say to everybody, for certain people, I would prefer you don't have an agent or manager. Because sometimes when you get an agent or manager, you rest on your laurels, you sit back, well, now I've got them, so they're just going to get me all these opportunities. And then you stop saying yes to all these things. Right?
Yeah.
I don't, sometimes having that letterhead creates a little bit of, I don't want to say apathy, but lethargy.
100%.
And I think the best thing that ever happened to me was when I graduated from grad school, I was just hip pocketed by a whole bunch of people, and that helped me just really stay at it.
Absolutely. The last one is self-care, which is
Most important one.
absolutely. We can burn out really quickly in this business if we're firing in all cylinders in all the other areas, but not finding what brings us like wellness, physically, emotionally, mindfully, spiritually. Like it's all very important. And as we were talking about this yesterday, John, but what brings you joy? And this also goes back to that 5-year principle too, of like, what are the habits and routines for yourself that are going to make you live a full and happy life? Because it can't just always be about the business. It has to be about living a full life at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, we want you to be happy humans. I always said that the thesis of my studio was, cultivate the constitution of a happy working actor. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the happy person that's most likely to book that gig versus someone who's coming in hoping that the job will cure all of their ills. No.
I mean, when you were building that career and you said you booked that Law and Order LA job because you had so much other stuff going on in your life, like, it was almost like an overabundance.
For that, I had no time. And I went in. Yeah, it was, and then it was really interesting because they asked me to go in. I knew I wasn't going to get it. They asked me to audition for a judge, and I was like, a judge? I'm 38 years. I was like 38, and I'm like, I had to learn this huge monologue. I was like, I'm going to be going against like 70-year-olds. When I went in, it was a whole bunch of 70-year-olds. And I was like, so I was obviously the young option. I was like, the best I can do is not fuck it up. And then I went in, I didn't fuck it up. And then they said, you know what? Would you read for this other character? And I went into the other room. I was like, I got to get back to class.
Yeah. Yeah.
Prepped, went in, got it. Yeah. I think it's really important. I would rather any opportunity you have be an interruption in your day.
I mean, it's the whole, I mean, how many people who get opportunities when they book a trip or have some other big life event that's going on? Yeah. Living a full life, it only enhances your artistry.
Yeah, exactly.
So are you taking good care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? Are you proud of your habits? And do you have a support system as well?
You can tell so much about a person's career by the company they keep. And
absolutely.
Surround yourself with people who are really encouraging you to be the best version of yourself, and surround yourself with people that you're allowed to push and hold accountable. It's just a series of accountability.
Absolutely. So now you have all of these different 11 categories to look at your business from an outside vantage point. And whatever these numbers mean is kind of up to you, because it doesn't necessarily mean you have to take action on the lowest number. It may be that if networking were your lowest number and there was an opportunity to meet with people, this week, at a mixer or a festival, that you would go and do that and advance that area of your career and bring it from like a 6 to a 7. And even though, you may need to work on, improving your relationship with your reps, or getting back into acting class or whatever, those can be longer term goals, but you get to decide what gets the most attention. But the idea is we perform this level of an oversight of our business a couple times a year. So that gives us some idea of what we want to target our attention on for the next quarter or 2 quarters, 3 to 6 months, as we continue to push ourselves towards our bigger goal of being on set. One of the things I like to talk a lot about is getting more data through a database. And a lot of actors kind of bristle at this and probably don't love this area, but it's one of the areas I think that can be really useful and help measure the progress you are making, because I do get a lot of people who enjoy the process of seeing themselves get more auditions or make new connections and relationships with people. So I'm just going to talk really, really briefly before we finish things off today about databases. And we're going to send you these tutorial videos for all of these. So you don't need to worry about being an expert at it right now. Just know that if this is something that you feel like you struggle with and need a platform for, you're going to walk away with a tutorial and a tool today that you can use for your business. So the first area I like to get more data is in Google Sheets, which is an obvious one for a lot of you. Probably most of you are using this right now. But it's a great way to kind of create a spreadsheet with multiple tabs and break it up into, again, you can see your audition, network, project, and contact database, and see, what kind of contracts you're going into. You can make this as specific to your business as you want to. It's very user-friendly system, Google Sheets. But I find a lot of people, when they just want to get something up there, they start here with Google Sheets as a way to kind of just track the level of activity they have going on, so that they can push themselves every single year to kind of get better and better and better and improve. The one downside about Google Sheets is it requires a lot more manual upkeep between the different tabs. And for those of you who are interested in pushing yourself to learn something a little bit more seamless and a little bit more intuitive, as far as and time saving, I should say, not intuitive, time saving, I would recommend Airtable, which I use a lot. And this can really help you, again, the same way that Google Sheets does. It's like a spreadsheet manager with different tabs. It's also free. They're both free. I like free. And the great thing about Airtable is that you can enter in data in one sheet that can plug into multiple different areas. So you don't have to kind of enter in a new audition and then go over to your contact area and enter in the details for the casting director that you met there. All of it can be done in one spreadsheet from like your audition tab, for instance, and then enter into the different areas so that everything updates all at once, which I love. Plus, Airtable has the ability to create interfaces which allow you to get charts and graphs and data about your business that can help you kind of see in a visual way exactly how you are performing. And then you can do a year-over-year analysis of like, oh, wow, like I'm going in for a lot more co-stars this year than last year, which means that, I'm finally getting my co-star opportunities. Or maybe you're trying to see like, wow, according to this chart, I can see that my agent brings me in a lot of guest star opportunities, but they bring me in less auditions, whereas my manager brings me in, more indie films and co-stars. But so it seems like they're attracting different opportunities, and you can kind of get a better understanding of how each person is influencing your business. And then from there, make decisions about, how you want to move your career forward based on that data. So again, like I said, we'll share those tools with you. And then also today, we'll talk about a few other things you're going to walk away with, which is one, an invitation to join Actor Salon. I think this is a great community for all of us it's an accountability group where you can focus on your business with multiple people. I think it's really helpful to have not only the perspective of how, what's going on with your business, but also to see what other actors are working on. This GIF is very busy. I should have probably not done the GIF. But we have a good time in Actor Salon, but it's about active accountability and being able to have a shared community for you to move your career forward. So if whatever you're looking to take action on today, I would highly suggest you have some level of accountability to push yourself forward. As we mentioned, Make Agents Want You is also going to be something we share with you as well. They have 3 dates coming up for you to choose from. So I highly recommend signing up if you want to hear more from Brian Patacca. If you want, again, we'll send you more information about how to work with Leah Huebner and get on her wait list. And of course, if craft and getting better at auditions and understanding genre is something that you want to do, I speak from experience, but John's class has helped me immensely in the business of film and television and acting in a multitude of ways. So I highly encourage you to use that as a resource as well. I think it's time to talk about giveaways.
Yeah.
We're going to give away four things to 4 different people. John, you want to talk about what those things are? Oh, and also, if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand in the chat right now. And once we finish the giveaways, we'll start answering questions.
Giveaway. What are we giving away? We're giving away from the JRS side 2 2 individual 1-hour coachings.
That's right.
And we are giving away free 2 separate
free salon mastery coaching and a free month of salon.
And if they're already in salon, you can apply that to our
audition camp.
So
so we have 4 different giveaways here that we're gonna spin the wheel, and let's see here. Karina I will have to enable sharing here. Hold on a second here. Yes, I can enable panelists. There we go. Let's see. Did that work for you, Karina? Hey, there she is.
Oh my God. What are we giving away right now, Paul?
We're going to start off with the free month of Actor Salon with a mastery coaching.
All right.
And that's going to go to
Alex.
Congratulations, Alex. Let's spin that wheel again. Karina is going to send all the details about your winnings after this here, but Alex Whiteman. Glenn, you have also won a free salon coaching, free mastery coaching, and month of salon. Now let's get to the JRS
1 hour coaching.
1 hour coaching. Allison, you won free coaching with John or any one of our coaches here at the studio. And Jamie, congratulations, our 4 winners here of our 4 giveaways at the summit today. Okay, let's get to our questions. I'm going to start with the one here at the top. 1 second here. All right. Is it Yam?
Yes, it's Yam. Hi.
Hi, what's your question today?
Okay, so I have 2 questions. One's kind of industry related and one is for JRS. Sorry, a little thing popped up. My first question I'll just say about JRS. I'm wondering, do you guys have any sort of financial aid or scholarship opportunities, just as, in the finances aspect? Just curious about that.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that question. Honestly, there's no active program. I think it's usually people that have been at the studio and have then become, I think just a great part of the community, where usually that starts to become something that's talked about and accommodated.
Yeah, sure.
We also offer, I believe, John, if someone is in class and they're interested in doing both acting and salon at the same time, where they'd be able to package those together. Is that right?
And we package them together.
So there's a way where if you're looking at doing both salon and coaching at the same time, I know that JRS also offers that as well.
Okay, good to know. Thank you so much. I appreciate, totally understand that.
Yeah.
And then my other question is regarding just the industry. You know, I feel like I am in that place where I feel really ready. And every time I get feedback, I'm actually doing Brian's course right now. I'm kind of in the final stages of, I've been reaching out to reps for the past week and a half, and I'm getting a lot of people. I'm not, I'm not eligible to be in the union. It's not been a great year to get eligible to be in the union. And I'm getting a lot of feedback where they're like, you're really talented. We have no doubt that you're going to find a great team and you're going to have so much success, but we're not taking either. A lot of people are just not taking clients right now, to be honest, or they're not looking for people who are not union. And so I feel like I'm kind of in that place where all the feedback I'm getting across the board, whether it's cast directors or reps that I'm reaching out to, whatever it is, they're like, you're great, you're super talented, we see the talent, we see the work, but we can't. It's like that catch 22 of like, because I don't have any sort of big fancy credits, I don't have, and it's just a question of, I feel good about where I'm at craft wise, and I am doing stuff, like I'm doing Brian's course, I'm trying to do all this work on the business side, and I feel like it's just this catch 22 where I don't know how to get to that next level because I can't figure out how to get in the union. Like I've been trying, and
Right.
so I would just love any thoughts you have regarding all that.
There are a couple different ways, one can join the union, whether that's, obviously what you're probably doing right now, submitting for a lot of projects on your own to get those bookings, as well as whether or not you do background work and gather vouchers. And then there's the other people who actually self-produce something and get a SAG signatory in order to join the union as well, with the SAG short film agreement, as a way to kind of build a union credit that is able to help them leverage their position into getting to the union. I also want you to know that the relationships that you're building right now and the people you're connecting with in this outreach that you're doing, that work doesn't go away just because this opportunity isn't right. And if down the line you end up, if in 3 months you end up finding a way to get into the union and with one of those different veins of possibility, I think you would be fine to follow up with them and be like, hey, I just want to let you know, like we had we connected back in May, and I just want to let you know I finally joined the union, and I would love to sit down and have a conversation with you. So like, I know you're putting a lot of time and effort and probably finances as well into this process right now, but I want you to know that it won't pay off. It's going to pay off now or sometime down in the future. Like, so just feel confident that like and I want you to know too that I have clients, both union and non-union, signing now too. So there are people out there who will sign you at this stage in your career.
Yeah, I think it's sorry to interject.
Yeah.
I am also getting responses from people who are interested in working together. Like I am also getting meetings. I think it's more about the booking aspect that I am struggling with, but
The booking.
Not having credits, you mean, on your resume?
Credits, I haven't tried the short film through SAG route yet, but like, it's the not being able to get into SAG because there's not a lot of things happening right now. But then also, how do you move forward in the industry when everybody's telling you you're ready, but the thing that you don't have is that like professional stamp of approval from a network or whatever. So
I really do hear the frustration, and I really do want you to take to heart what Paul's saying, is I think you're investing all of this energy right now.
Mhm.
So I think the other thing is you're investing this energy right now in a very concentrated way. So of course you want it to yield results in the time frame that you want it to yield.
Yeah.
And I think right now you have to release the time frame of it, because ultimately what's happening is you're building all of your you're building your package. It's ready to go, which is great. So I do want to make sure that you're also, listen, you don't know where the opportunity is going to come from. I mean, I'm dealing with it. There's a client who I just love, who's in one of my classes, and it's mind-boggling to me. She's booked a lot of stuff, but it's all been non-union. So I'm actually planning to talk to like a casting director today about like, what can we do to get her on something, even as like what is it? I'm literally going to call them today to brainstorm. But I think that right now, all you got to do, it's like you don't know what the avenue is going to be to get you that thing. You don't. But you do have to have faith it's going to happen. And I think you should feel very, at least, the fact that you've already built this package so it's ready to go is going to serve you really well.
And most importantly too, Yum, I would say that there is, you have offers. It's, you said you have offers, you have people who have responded. And that can also be, you know, who you sign with now does not need to be who you're with in five or 10 years, depending on what you need on that level, you know, part of your career. So don't necessarily, you know, look down on your nose at the opportunities that are there right now. I want you to feel good about the level of attention you're getting, and that's great feedback to be getting, that you're really good.
Thank you. I really
Yeah, of course. And you know, again, like it is a longer term process to kind of continue pushing through and kind of repositioning yourself as you continue to move forward in your career. It's hard for me to kind of give you a full coaching through what I might suggest as we kind of move forward, but does that give you a little bit more of an insight? And if you want to do more, you're welcome to like contact Olivia at JRS to kind of set up something else if you want to talk more privately about that.
Yeah, no, I'm going to send an email. So
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your time in this whole Zoom. It's been wonderful. Really
awesome. Thank you, Yum.
Thank you,
all right. Sullivan. I like that headshot.
Oh, hey, sorry, there was a little lapse in the sound. Thank you. I think I heard you say I like my headshot. Okay, sorry, I wasn't even ready. I went to grad school here in New York City, and a few years ago finished during the pandemic, and got a small boutique agency and had a lot of auditions. A few of the same offices were like calling me back, and I never really booked anything. And I've seen this sort of like downturn in my sort of engagement and career, because it kind of didn't go anywhere. So the agency dropped me, and yada yada, that whole story, right? So I took a job on a show on Discovery Channel, and then I was talking to a casting agent or a casting director, excuse me, and she was like, "Don't ever do that. That's like career suicide, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Oh my God, what have I done? Like, is that a thing?" I think I just need some reassurance that I didn't like shoot myself in the foot.
Well,
I mean, I'll do my. Can I say this, Paul? Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that is a crock of shit.
Okay. I think I just needed to hear you say it, and like, sorry if I wasted time.
I'm sorry. I mean, we are living in a much different day. I mean, unless you would have become like a household name because of ridiculous behavior on that show, like it used to be.
I mean, it was ridiculous behavior. Okay.
Wait, does anyone know you?
Nobody knows me. I've done nothing except so I've done some regional theater, you know, and I'm not in the SAG union. I'm in Actors Equity, but like, no, nobody knows me. But like,
no, what I mean is like back in the day, what was that show? What's the thing, the reality show where people go off to the island and like
Survivor?
What's that? Survivor. I remember when I was like, this is 20 some years ago, a woman who had done really well, but was like a household name because of how awful her behavior was on like season 1 of the Survivor. She was challenged to get, you know, people could not separate her from that, like, you know, from that mythology.
Right. I mean, no, I behaved myself and I did my job. It's just like what they had me doing was just deplorable.
No one's gonna know that show.
Not only that, but it harkens back to what we were talking about, which is that anyone who gives you that kind of like dogmatic truth about the industry, where it's just like it's career suicide. You're like, don't ever take them at their, do not believe them. It is not. People can. John, you've met people who've probably been series regulars who probably feel like, you know, the things that they did 10 years ago are no longer relevant. And so like, that's just to kind of go and show that, like, first of all, like you should not have been ashamed for taking work in that area. I fully commend you for taking that opportunity. And also like, I appreciate that you're still in the industry now and you're pushing for your career and like finding new ways to engage with your business. So Sullivan, I'm stoked for you. I also resonate with your experience coming to this business from graduate school, as does John. We both went to grad programs and like left school feeling like Ferraris. And all of a sudden, we're like, oh, I don't know anything about business. And we had to kind of figure that out as we went. So
That's where
appreciate you
I am
being
right
here.
now. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you so much, Sullivan. Melanie. Hi. I'm sure it's prompting you with a little message right now here too.
No.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Thank you both for doing this so much. Very informative. Johnny had mentioned earlier that you used to send out postcards to casting directors, and I did that a bit like before, the pandemic and things like that, with, I guess, maybe mixed results. I don't know if that's at all still relevant, or if casting directors look at that and go, oh my gosh, they must be ancient if they're sending me a postcard. Or
Let me say this. This was before, I'd say this before the DM age. I'm old, Melanie. My anecdotes are older, but I think that right now there's a lot of different ways to communicate. And right now you can't send postcards usually because they're at home.
That's
A lot
what
of these casting
They're out of
directors,
state. Yeah.
yeah. But email, direct message. I mean, like that, people are very accessible.
Yeah.
And I will say this. I personally, I may not be the norm, but I love it when old clients or someone reaches out and just says hi, or tells me some good news. I'm never thinking, why are you reaching out to me? Not once. And I think the reality is, if anyone's turned off by your reaching out, that just means they're not one of your people.
Absolutely. And kind of, to talk about, feeling like Jan was saying earlier about feeling like you're doing really good work. And if we're feeling like, if we do something really great and we're not sharing it with people, it's like, I always use this analogy, but it's like Steve Jobs making the iPhone and being like, I hope people find the iPhone based on its merit. But as opposed to like telling everyone about it, or doing his, big presentation. And so like, yes, emailing, I think engaging with them and following them on social channels is all appropriate ways to keep in contact and foster and develop. And casting director workshops are all great ways to meet casting.
And also, everyone, I'm going to pitch my podcast that I have, and I had a great interview with it's called Actor Life, #Actor Life. But one of the people I interviewed is Leah McKendrick, who was was an actor at the studio for a long time, and she's recently made a great movie that she starred in and directed and wrote called Scrambled. And she talked about just how she really is unapologetically she unapologetically markets herself, like, on everything she's accomplished. So also, don't be afraid to post it about yourself. Post on your Instagram, on your Facebook. Be proud of what you're accomplishing.
Great. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Was that what you were going to ask about, Melanie? I don't know. I wasn't quite sure if that was your question.
Just in lieu of the postcards and all of that sort of more old school way of reaching out, just, what's sort of the most appropriate way that also kind of will actually get in front of their faces a little bit, that's not going to be intrusive or anything like that. So.
I mean, that you're helping them too by keeping them in the know. They should know you. It's exactly like that casting director said to me when I was just like, oh God, he doesn't know me. Like, I want them to know that you want them to know you, don't you?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, showing up and doing that work is really important. Thank you, Melanie, for asking that question. All right. Amber, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Summit. It's been a while since I've spoken with you both, so thanks for doing this. First off, that phrase about letting opportunities be an interruption to your day spoke volumes to me as someone who is constantly trying to force things and fit them into my time frame. I think that that's just my motto from now on. But my question kind of ties with that is, if there's a project or a universe that you're really hoping to be a part of, that maybe the project's been recently greenlit or something like that, how do you make sure that you or your agents don't miss that casting opportunity or that notice when it comes out? And how do you also prepare yourself to be ready for that universe or for that project in the audition phase without forcing it as much as you can? you know.
But are you saying that you're worried that your reps are missing roles that are right for you?
Not necessarily like the bigger projects. Because my reps they're great, but I'm sure that there's always some projects that, you know, they don't have the name. The bigger projects aren't going to be named exactly what you like the project is. They might have like a code name or something like that. So I want to do my due diligence and do that 90% of the work and make sure that I'm keeping tabs with as many projects as possible if I'm really interested in them and helping my agents along that way. But I don't want to do it in a forceful manner or something like that. And I also want to be prepared and feel qualified to be in that universe or to be in that project.
Sure. Can I just start with something real quick, John, which is that I think one of the first things I would say is I love your idea of like fostering this, helping your reps like together to kind of leverage you know your position with like a potential project that's coming up. So like what I would say is, if for instance there's a project coming up and you've maybe met the casting director who's in on it, writing an email to be like, hey, I just saw in Deadline that such and such project is, you know, an active pre-production or something like that. I want to let you know that like I know the writer, or I happen to know. You're giving them ammunition to use when pitching you, which I think is always wonderful, and they will love that as well, like to know that like to know that there's like, oh, this gives us a little bit of an edge with pitching you in this particular project. I think we should always assume that they are doing their job unless we have proof otherwise, you know, whether that means that like they're not responsive to email communication, or maybe you've had a booking and something hasn't gone right. So I just want you to know too that like we want to make it a positive dynamic between the two of you when you're working together like that. So like, and bolstering them, they're not going to miss the opportunity, but you're helping them to be like, I'm really interested in this. I just want to let you know, like I'm working towards finding an opportunity to build a relationship with the casting director for us. But that also kind of lets them know that like you specifically, Amber, are interested in that project. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, that's very helpful, because the last thing I wanted to do was just be sitting there, kind of like what John was saying, like when you do have an agent, you kind of just let them take the reins and sit there. So I kind of wanted to find that balance and being able to advocate for myself and help them, you know, pitch me.
Listen, you've also got to be aware, like sometimes with these really big, with certain big projects, I mean, they're going to lists. They may not even release a breakdown. You know, I mean, that's also what's really valuable about being in class, because, you know, like, for example, all we work on is currently casting material. So you're also hearing what's being cast through, you know, by keeping your ears open.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there's a variety of ways of staying aware of what's happening, you know, and I think it's making sure that you are having, between even just your friends, it's like, it's a combination of things that actually keep you, I hate this term, in the know.
No, that makes sense.
Thank you, Amber. I appreciate the
Thank you
question.
so much.
Of course. Danelle?
Hi, Danelle.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, so I'm currently taking Brian's course and we'll be reaching out to reps in LA soon. But I am located in Phoenix and I wouldn't be a local hire. And I've recently heard from someone that they got a lot of pushback from different reps in LA saying that they're currently not signing anyone who isn't a local hire. So I'm just wondering if that's something that you've been hearing about recently, whether it's from like agents, managers, or even casting directors? And is there a way to make yourself look more attractive, like as an actor, when you are out of market?
That's a great question. I do think that, you know, if you're saying that you're not a local hire to Los Angeles, it does eliminate a bit of the material, like of the opportunity that you can be submitted on. Unless, you know, some people, being that you're in Phoenix, you're not terribly far, but if you're, my question for you is like, are you looking to eventually move to Los Angeles? Are you looking to dip into the Los Angeles market as an actor who's based always in Phoenix? That would be my first question. What are your longer term goals? Do you want to stay in Phoenix?
So I would eventually like to move to LA, but my situation right now is I help take care of my grandma. So that's not something that's going to happen in the
Okay.
near future. So, but eventually, yes, that is my goal is to move out to LA.
I think, go
mean,
ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, first of all, if we're talking about theatrical, are we talking about commercial or theatrical?
Um, Either one. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think I am leaning more towards theatrical at the moment.
Well, listen, if you're talking about theatrical, everything is typically self-tape and Zoom. So my question is, would you drive out here if you got an in-person audition?
It's not my favorite thing, but I have driven out there and I would again if
I mean,
the
I think
opportunity called for it.
for you to, I mean, listen, you want as limited, you don't want many barriers to entry,
Oh, right.
right? And I think right now it's really, you have to figure out, what are you willing to do? Do you have extensive credits to know?
No, so that's the other thing is that I'm coming off of like a 10-year hiatus from acting. And even when I was actively pursuing it, I don't have a lot of impressive credits to share.
That's okay. I mean, I think which kind of what John was saying, and I'm sure Brian's talking you through the process of like, understanding the narrative that you're talking about with, you have a training, you have experience in this field, and now you're coming back to it, after, some time. That's not a problem. I think what John's also trying to say is that like, there's a way to be not say that you're based in Phoenix, but like if were you to book something, you would be a local hire here. If you had a place to stay, were you to book something, for a day on set, and for a fitting and all that stuff, you'd want to be more readily accessible. There's not a lot of people who are being flown in, I'd say, to Los Angeles all the time for opportunities, because there's such a pool of talent here. So if you could position it as a way where you're like, I have a local hire status in Los Angeles. If I were to book something, I would be happy to be a local hire. That might give you a little bit of an edge. Does that make sense, Danelle?
It does, yes.
And set up, that's setting up that system, whether it's one of your best friends who you've known out here when you were out here before, or, who you can be like, hey, we're at to book a job on shrinking. Could I sleep on your couch for a couple nights? That kind of thing. Because that would help, I think, to finesse that situation for you, because Phoenix is not that far away.
Right. Yeah. No, it's an hour and a half flight. It's just the flight rates right now are pretty crazy. So yeah, my only
Tell me
option would be
about it.
driving. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But I think you would kind of, were you to book a big opportunity, I would probably assume to say that like the cost would be covered by the day rate, and you kind of make peace with that, because what you're doing is building like career credit, and reinvesting in the career. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
All right. Thank you, Danelle.
Thank you.
More.
Sophia, hi. This will end. Sophia will be our last question today. Hey, Sophia.
Hi. Thank you guys so much for doing this. I just wanted to say that. I wanted to ask about kind of no's and yeses and no's to social media, because obviously it can make a professional profile really easily, but that it's social media is supposed to be a little bit more personable, you're showing your friends, your lifestyle. And what are some things to like really stay away from, and just general advice on navigating social media? Should you make your acting your whole feed? Anyways, yeah.
John, you had a really great podcast episode with David Abed a little bit about social media, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. Again, I am not at all a guru. I pay someone else to do social media. I do think, whatever you do, it needs to be an authentic expression of who you are. I want to make sure you're not trying to cultivate some image that's not authentic to whatever it is. So I think it's an opportunity to be very creative. Like I have one client, Hannah, who's like a big improviser and a brilliant actress who has all these brilliant little skits she does. And, you know, but she's also pitching shows. She's like, she is selling herself clearly for what she is, like a multi-hyphenate creative, right? Then I have another client who's been on a show for the last, you know, different shows for the last decade, who, you know, is a brand ambassador. So it's a very you know, like she's making a lot of money by just wearing a particular outfit. So there's a very particular thing that she's cultivating. I think for you, you just have to really figure out what is it that you want to, what is it that you're trying to present right now?
Yeah, so the way I've seen people describe it is like circles of concentration for different areas of your career. So some people might be like, I like to post things about this part of my personal life, about this hobby that I'm really invested in, that I love, like, you know, whether that's puppies or Star Wars or, you know, whatever. And then I like to post about myself as an actor, or maybe it's like, you know, and I kind of target my, you know, social media to be about those, you know, specific areas that are tied to tied to those categories. I think that is how a lot of people use social media as a tool. There are also people, go ahead.
Oh, is there like big no-nos that you definitely shouldn't do? Like, for example, I was out with friends the other day. We got cute photos, but I was like holding a glass of wine in my hand and I was like, oh, I can't post that, right? Or
Oh
how
no,
does that
you could absolutely
Okay.
post things. You know, it's not a problem to post anything about like.
Hold on, Sophia, how old are you?
I'm 21, so I guess
Okay.
that should
Okay,
be.
you're legal. That's fine.
That's absolutely fine. And you know, it can be social and personal. Like people want to see you as a human. You know, I do know people who create, you know, fake Insta accounts where they can have it with a very, you know, small section of you know, their Instagram community and it's just friends. But like as for like a public facing account, people love to see your daily life. People love to see your acting life, and people love to see your passions. So like if you can define what those three categories are, and Sophia, we're in class, you know, you're in my salon, so we can talk more about this, but we can define what those areas are. So, you know, you feel like you're staying actively engaged in your social media account. It's a tool to be used, and it's one you can decide how to use it on your own. But yeah, thank you so much, Sophia. All right. Thank you all for I really appreciate everyone's insight. I really appreciate your insight, John, and you planning all of this.
Oh, Paul, you've done such a miraculous job. You have made this so organized.
One last thing is don't forget your goodie bag. We're going to send you some stuff. Also a link to how to get into Salon, and also how to sign up with Leah Huebner. So everyone gets a little something for coming out today. So thank you so much. And we'll see you around LA and all over the world. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.